started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Meal Support Podcast, Serving Those Who Serve. Today, our panel is Gigi and Ginger and myself, Elizabeth Clamon, and I'm your host. And we are going to talk today about what it's like to be away from home and away from your family during the holidays, because being December, November, December, the holidays are all coming up, and sometimes that can be really difficult for people, and then sometimes for people like me, it can be not so difficult because I like it that way. So anyway, before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that we have underneath the show notes everybody's contact information, their Facebook, their Twitter, their websites, and everything. And I have my book on special right now, Beauty Rising from Brokenness through Christmas. If you go to my website, there's a special where you get a signed copy and an extra gift. And I pick up the postage and handling, and I'll mail it right out to you and make sure you get it by Christmas. So if you need it for Christmas gift, if you've got readers on your list. So you want to be sure and go by there and pick that up at elizabethclamon.com. So now that I've done my plug and told you about my book, let's start talking about our topic today. So ladies, how do you feel about being away from family during the holidays?
I'll let Ginger go first.
Well, I feel differently now than I did when we were first married. And so I'm going to kind of dial back a few years to when we were first married and new to the military. It felt really weird to not be home for Christmas. I was used to, just all of the traditions and the festivities and family around from my home of origin. And so those first few Christmases, actually the first couple of Christmases, we did go home for Christmas, and we traveled over Christmas as a newlywed couple, and that was super exciting. But then once kids started coming, we really didn't like to travel over Christmas, and so we were away from family for Christmas. And I can remember the first Christmas that we were in Washington State by ourselves, and it was just my husband and I and our 15-month-old baby boy, and it just seemed so different. And I realized that, part of the trick to navigating different is to embrace different rather than let different be uncomfortable or a negative thing, but just to think about what are the benefits of things that are different. New people. We were in a totally different area of the country. I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, East Coast, and we were, at the time, we were in Washington State on Whidbey Island, which was just beautiful. And so the Northwest is so different from the East Coast. And so that made it, really interesting and fun. And we were in a small town, and so there was some, neat festivities and traditions of the town that we were in that we took advantage of. And so that was, and you just have to make the most of it and realize it is going to be different.
Right. And different's not necessarily bad. Sometimes, different's okay. And I think you're right. Putting yourself in whatever the traditions of the area you're in are. I know, like when Thanksgiving and when we were in Massachusetts, we were invited over for Thanksgiving dinner. And it was the first time a lot of the foods were really different. And there was a bottle of wine essentially at every plate. And that was very weird for us. And it was just
had a real good time.
Yeah. And they're just pouring wine and having a good time. And it just was completely way, way different from home. But one of my favorite memories, we had just a great time. Without the bottle of wine, we still had a good time. Not that I'm opposed to the bottle of wine, but I didn't think I wanted to drink a bottle for for lunch. I'll thank you.
I'd have been sleeping through dinner.
Exactly. I kind of wanted to watch the football game, so didn't want to sleep through football.
Oh no, I could sleep through football.
All day. All day.
And what about you, Gigi? What's your experience with being away from
So My experience is a little bit different because when I was away from my family, I was just starting out in the military and I was a single mom. So my son was about a year and a half. And I was, I was from North Carolina, so I wanted to stay with North Carolina, and I was missing my family, and I had my young son with me. And the first few Christmases, we were in California. The first few holidays and Christmases, I wallowed in my own mess because I refused to have a good time because all I knew was I was away from family.
Mhm.
I wasn't there to celebrate the way we normally celebrate. I was upset because my son was missing celebrating, the holidays with the family. And, he wasn't able to, we didn't have FaceTime and Facebook at the time.
Right.
And, it wasn't as easy to video. We had the little flip phones and they didn't have really good video. And, I just felt like we were missing out from being there
Mhm.
with the family
Yeah.
unit. It was probably a couple of years before I decided to, like Ginger said, embrace what we were. And so that was also, I think, maturity setting in. I had my son when I was 20, so I was a little, starting out. So I realized this is a time to start new traditions
Right. Right.
instead of going with the old traditions and what we're used to doing. I said, this is our new family. It is our new normal.
Hmm.
It is we can start our own new traditions. And when we can go home, we will go home and visit with the family. When they can come out, we started going to, okay, the family was going to come out every couple of holidays and we would spend those holidays with them. But we started forming our own traditions. And then later on down the years, I got married and I had, again, and I had my son with me, my second son. And then we started our own new traditions, and we still, to this day, 25, 26 years later, still carry those traditions. And they are a little bit different from my familial unit and how we used to do
Hmm.
things. But that's the circle of life. And that's
Yeah.
how new traditions get started and how things change. And we have to embrace those opportunities to break away from the things that we know of and start new things. And even though it was different for me, it didn't change until my mindset changed.
Right. And that's really what it's about. And it's, it's like Ginger said, it's embracing it. And I
Right,
think, like you said, that comes with maturity and it comes with time. And I think it comes with accepting that, okay, this is the way it's going to be now.
right,
This is how
right.
it's going to be. I made this choice. It was about choices. I made this choice
I
of,
made this
and,
choice, and this is
mhm,
part of those choices. And even though they're hard choices, they are me. Guess what? It's me growing up. It's me being an adult, doing adult things, and starting my own. Now,
right.
from a different perspective, being the mom away from the kids, now the kids are away from home during
Yes.
the holidays, and with one being in the military and one not in the military, just away from home, they're experiencing the same thing. This is their first year away from me during holidays, and I honestly believe
Ah.
I'm having a harder time with them being away than they are. um, the first Mother's Day came around, the first Thanksgiving came around, and I'm FaceTiming with my youngest son on the phone, and I've got tears in my eyes because I'm like, well, he's all by himself and he doesn't have a family, and we're all FaceTiming him and we're all seeing him, and he's saying hi to like mom and grandma and great grandma and sisters and brothers, and I'm like, oh, he's all by himself. Make sure you have somewhere to eat and go over here and make sure, he's like, Mom,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Isn't that so different from a mother's perspective as far, from being the
Yes.
the person away from home and see, I have the same thing. And that's like I have this sling on my arm. We were in another car accident and I wanted to apologize to our audience because we haven't been really consistent, and they have been so wonderful about listening, but I haven't been able to be as consistent as I wanted to be, as I had planned to be because of this car accident. But I've got to have my rotator cuff is completely torn from this accident, and I have to have rotator cuff surgery, and it's extremely painful. So I want to have it done as soon as possible. So I told my husband we see the doctor on Monday, and I'm like, well, my only caveat is if I have this surgery like within the next 2 weeks, I have to still be able to go to Michigan. He has to give me the red flag to go to my kids, because
Yes.
it's my son and his new wife's first Christmas. They're coming up to my daughters, my other daughters, and that's now our family unit. And I'm like,
Yes.
otherwise,
Yes.
I'm not having it done. I'll just suffer through until after the first of the year, because I'm
I
not
think that's
missing
what
it.
parents do. I mean, I had foot surgery in February, and it was in March of 16, and my son, March of 17, I'm sorry, my son graduated from basic training in April. And I'll tell you what, a week after my foot surgery, I was on my crutches with a boot on my foot, flying to San Antonio and walking around. And I was on that parade field because I was like, there is no way my son's going to graduate and I'm not going to be there, boot and all.
Yeah.
So, there's just some holidays and some instances where it's just not acceptable. Just not going to have it. I'm not going to miss it. But, the traditional holidays we're starting to get used to, and understanding the fact that this is their chance and their turn to grow up and mature, and it's
Start
hard
their
to watch them.
traditions.
I know it is hard, but I
I
don't want them to, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with us too. We had our own family traditions, and my husband's like, I'm like, we always give them pajamas and a Christmas ornament on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning they have their other gifts, and now they're 32, 30, and 25, and don't you dare not get that ornament and those pajamas on Christmas Eve, because the world will stop turning. And it's like, you don't realize how much you make those traditions end up being important to them.
Those boxes of Axe body spray are important.
Oh, well, this will be our first year with one of our kids not at home as well.
Oh boy.
So yeah, we're all in the same boat on that one, but kind of wanted to shift the conversation just a little bit to when we lived in Okinawa, Japan, there was no coming home for Christmas.
No.
Just way too far. And we hadn't been there very long when Christmas rolled around. And when you're moving overseas, of course, your housing shipment is a light shipment. You're very limited on what you can take. So we didn't take Christmas decorations. I just didn't think about it. I might have brought our little advent calendar, as a little hanging you put on the wall, and there's a little goodie for each day from the nativity scene, and put one up, and the kids always loved that. That was lightweight, so that one went. But, like our Christmas tree and all the ornaments and stuff like that didn't take a whole lot of that kind of thing. And so my daughter at the time was in 4th grade, and she was flipping out about being in Japan and no Christmas tree.
Oh, no.
I don't even, I never saw that one coming. And she was like, it won't be Christmas without a Christmas tree. And the exchange was, putting out these notices that we're the shipment of Christmas trees. Something happened with it. It's not going to make it on time. We're so sorry. We're not going to have Christmas trees this year.
Oh, no.
So one of my friends that I had met, she knew that my daughter was really upset about the possibility of not having a Christmas tree. And she was at the exchange one day, and she saw them unloading artificial trees, and she called me right away, and she said, do you want me to pick one up for you, because they're going to go like hotcakes?
Yes.
And so she did. She bought a tree for me. I paid her back, and we had a Christmas tree, and my daughter was just happy as can be.
Yeah.
Then Christmas could be Christmas.
Exactly.
That's right. So there's certain traditions that you keep at all possible, and then ones that you flex with when you're in different places and away from home and that kind of thing. And I think that's the beauty of tradition.
Child that's that age, that stuff is important to them.
It
You know,
is.
and it was,
It is.
just the tree, and I'm sure you didn't have any ornaments or anything. So, what did you do? Homemade ornaments, or what did you
We did
do?
some homemade ornaments, and we just bought some inexpensive things from the exchange. And one of the fun things that was about being overseas is the gift shops.
Yes.
Like the spouses clubs had some really amazing gift shops. So actually, our tree turned out pretty good.
Because
Very nice.
But
my kids.
for military kids and moving and being in a transitory environment with children, that is one of the benefits of developing your own family traditions that aren't dependent on extended family. I was like totally losing a word there. That aren't dependent on extended family and being in a certain place, but having some family traditions that you can do anywhere. Things that are simple, inexpensive, and that are meaningful for you and your family. Then those traditions can provide a level of continuity for kids. And so I do think, particularly for military families, that having a few Christmas traditions or holiday traditions that are meaningful for your family, and particularly things that highlight your faith and share your faith with your children and things like that, do add a level of continuity for military kids who sometimes really struggle with that feeling of continuity and stability.
Right. And they feel really disconnected sometimes. And, and I know my husband's side of the family, my in-laws have 15 grandkids. So when all the cousins are together, it's a big party to them. So when we didn't go home, they felt like they were missing out on the party at Grandma and Papa's house because, they're missing it. And, and I know with my kids, it was, for me, this is my really difficult time of the year, because we hit Thanksgiving, which my grandmother always said was her holiday. And and so we always went to her house for Thanksgiving and had the whole big Thanksgiving meal. And she's the best cook on the planet. A Cajun grandma, I mean, how much better can you get for a cook? Yeah, exactly. And then I roll into my mom's birthday, my sister's birthday, my brother's birthday. And then my grandmother's birthday was Christmas Day. And then my birthday is 3 days after Christmas. So I hit Thanksgiving and I usually hit a slump and have a really hard time just being down and not being, just really feel like I'm missing a lot. And especially now, not having any connection with that side of my family. And for me, it's just really important that I make other connections, that I make connections with people here, people where we're at, with our friends, with our church family, and that we go over and have dinner and they have people over. I try to do as much as I can to distract myself from the fact that I'm hitting so many things all at once. And so that was one thing we said this year, because I was I'm so confined, because not only am I dealing with the shoulder, but I also had a knee replacement 5 weeks ago. So I've been really, really confined and really, really laid up and at home pretty much by myself most of the time. And so my husband, I told him, I'm like, we haven't taken our Christmas decorations out since the girls were grown, because our middle daughter married a guy who has 2 daughters, and they're in Michigan, and the custody arrangement says that she has to have them half the day and he has to have them half the day. So they can't come to us because we have to be there for the kids. And so we've just gone there ever since they got together and started dating and got married. And then for Thanksgiving, we usually just, have, a casserole or something and watch football. And I told him, I'm like, this year it's really important for me that we do a turkey and that we do grandma's dressing and that we do some of the things that I used to have in my childhood, because I just needed that to have that comfort, I guess. That comfort of being as bad that food is my comfort, but some of my best memories are around grandma's table. So
I don't think it was the food, it was more the tradition of
Yeah. And
You know, it's the tradition of the foods that were cooked and the memories that they bring back.
yes, and we still have turkey and dressing in the refrigerator because we don't know how to make enough for two. You
That's
know,
a
Right.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
because there were five of us with when the kids were home, but they had friends over constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
always was cooking for 8 to 10 or more. So I don't have recipes that are for less than 8. So we still have some of that food in the freezer, but it's okay. We'll have some later. But that just seemed like something that was really important to me that I really hadn't felt before, that I wanted to have that connection, to be able to have that memory, because I'm not
Right.
honestly not really that fond of turkey and dressing and stuff. It's not
It's the
like
memory. It's the tradition.
it is.
That's what it is. We've tried to change our tradition as I got older and the kids are gone. Um, Trying to make once again, it's like a third transition.
Yes.
Now that it's just my husband and I actually said to him this year, he and my mom was going to come down for Thanksgiving, and I said, how about we do something different this year? A couple of years ago, I lived on base, and so we got into the tradition of going to the dining facilities and
Hmm.
serving the airmen at Thanksgiving. And my mom just loved it. She loved it. She loved it. She
Oh,
loved it. And so this year I said, well, babe, it's just the two of us. And then I said, what do you guys think we do something different this year? Not only did we wait until the very last minute, the day before, to go Thanksgiving shopping, but I said, maybe we don't have to. We don't have to go through that tradition. And I said, why don't we go and serve on the base, and we
hmm.
serve the airmen? And everybody was like, what? Yes, yes. I loved it when we did it last time. Let's do it. We ended up cooking anyway, because of course, after you finish serving the airmen, you want to come home. You want to eat later that afternoon while you're
Right.
watching the game. But that again is changing traditions. It's like I said, it's our third transition, and so now that the kids aren't here, and I come to that conclusion that is what it is. That's the normal. Um, let's do something different. Let's do something new to start doing with our holidays.
So you went out and adopted you some more children then.
I did. That's exactly what I
You
did.
just went out, got you a bunch more boys to feed. At least you don't
I'm
have to
used
buy the
to it.
groceries.
I don't have to buy the groceries, but I still, I'm in the USO storage room now. I'm working at the USO.
I was wondering where you were.
That's awesome.
I'm
That
at
is
the
awesome.
USO, and I'm in the office, the office slash storage room, because it is. I can't leave this atmosphere. I'm still over here at the USO serving these airmen, taking care of them, giving them somewhere to go, giving them something to do, and once again, we opened on Thanksgiving because a lot of these airmen they're not with their families. It
Right.
ties into the theme. I know what it's like. I know how it feels not to be with your family. So when these kids come in the door and we're open at the USO, we've got food laid out, saying it's Thanksgiving. You guys eat. Let's just put some music on. Let's have a good time. I come in and I give them a big hug. They finish eating. They lay out on the couches and they've got the blankets on them and they're falling asleep. And I'm like,
Is that
That's a
the
good
mom in
feeling.
you or the first shirt in you?
both. It's both. It's both. I want to make sure they're taken care of and they're full and their bellies are full and they're not alone. And it's the first sergeant in me that's saying, let's make sure our airmen are taken care of and that they don't feel lonely and that they have somewhere to go and they know they have somewhere to go.
Right. Right. And I know they did that when my son was in school out in Wyoming. They had
Mm-hmm.
a big Thanksgiving meal for all the students because he went to technical school. And so Arnold and I drove out there and had Thanksgiving with him when he was out there.
Right.
And the funniest part was we were going down the line and they're, filling up the plates. And I'm behind him and he gets to the green bean casserole. And she says, "You want green bean casserole?" He said, "Nope." She said, "You don't have any," well, he said, "No, ma'am." He better say no, ma'am.
You better say no.
Because I'm standing behind him. And she said, "You don't have any vegetables on your plate." He said, "I haven't ate vegetables since I left my mama's house." And she said, I'm going to tell your mama. And he said, there she is. Just go ahead and tell her. He was feeling his independence.
And you said, you better get some green bean casserole.
No, I just said, you know what, you're grown. You're going to have to deal with the consequences of that yourself.
Yeah,
and now his wife is like, he doesn't eat vegetables. I'm like, I did all I could. He's yours now.
Exactly. Yes.
I fought him for 18 years until he went to college. Now it's your turn.
I have that same one in my house.
He's just like his dad.
Meat and potatoes. That's it.
Yep,
and if he could get away with just meat, he would.
No, mine wants the potatoes too. And he just gets it from his dad. It's just like his dad. So, it took, I think it was just 10 years ago, his dad started eating salad. So, so I just gave up on it. I'm like, whatever, you guys deal with it. You'll deal with the health ramifications of it yourself because you're making your choices, and it's all about choices. So if you have one nugget of wisdom to leave with our military families today that will help them through these times of being away from home and being separated from family, what would that be? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
For me?
Either, both of you. Yeah. Whoever, go first.
I would definitely say, I hate to say it like this. Get out of your feelings. It's not we have to get out of our feelings and embrace and start new. And see it as a new adventure, see it as a new way of doing things. We love to be in our feelings about how woe is me, things are not the same, but look at it as a new opportunity. That is the best. As soon as you change your mindset about it, the things start to look up from there. We all love to be with our families, and we all love our traditions, but I really think of it as a new tradition to start
maybe
something
not
new.
all of us do.
Most of us.
Some of us are really happy to be in North Carolina.
Most of us like to be with our families.
Most of us, yes. But some of us are really happy that we're 2,000 miles away.
There you go.
But not happy that I'm 2,000 miles away from my kids. So
exactly.
Yeah. So Ginger, what's your nugget of wisdom for our families?
I think that something that's super important is to connect with people where you are and invest where you are, whether that is connecting with neighbors or people in your unit, your church family, getting involved in a church.
Yes.
Is something that is super important for military families. Faith is a tremendously important part of life, and connecting in community has a lot of power to it. It's really important both to be able to give and to receive. But I think that during the holidays, when you're away from family, it's helpful to have other people to connect with and enjoy life together and enjoy the holiday with. Try not to isolate yourself. That I think is the worst time to be isolating yourself is during the holidays, when you feel like everyone else around you is having a great time or visiting family. And we can feel, do you guys remember the story of the little matchmaker girl, and she's outside the window looking in at the people?
Yes.
So, and I don't remember all of the details of that story, but that image of being on the outside looking in and feeling disconnected, isolated, left out is a really hard experience to have. And the holidays can be like that when we're away from family, if we are disconnected with our community where we are. So, this is one that you've got to ramp up a little before the holidays. You can't just go out 2 days before Christmas and find somebody to connect with. You need to be building relationships every place that you go, investing in community every place that you go. And then when it's the holidays, if nobody invites you, invite them. Don't wait to be invited. start something, gather a group or what have you. But many times when people know that you're in the military and you're alone for Christmas or you're away from your family for Christmas, many people are so generous and hospitable
Yes.
with their invitations. And don't be afraid to say yes.
Yes, exactly. Don't be afraid to take a chance and go where there's a bottle of wine at every plate, even if that's not what you're used to.
I know I'm going. Give me a bottle of wine at my plate.
But, I guess my negative wisdom too is don't believe everything you think you see, because you're looking at somebody else's life from the outside in, and especially with the social media being as prevalent and everything it is right now, and people make things appear like they're so great and my life is perfect, and you can get caught up in that, and you can say, oh, they've got everything and they've got it all together, they've got the perfect marriage and the perfect kids and the perfect family. And I know I bought into that for a long time with the family thing, going, I'm the only one that has this really messed up family and doesn't have these bonds and doesn't feel connected. And once I was able to step out of that and realize that pretty much everybody else has, there's dysfunction in every family. It's just to degrees, and so don't compare what you think is lacking in your life to what somebody else's window dressing is, because that's just the window dressing. It's not really what's going on the inside. Everybody has stuff. Everybody has stuff.
Everybody's
And we
got
all
stuff.
have to deal with our stuff at some point. And so I think around the holidays, it's really hard because you're looking around and you're looking from the outside in. Say at your neighbor's house where there's 20 cars in the driveway and parked, because you're like, oh, they're over there having this wonderful family meal and everybody's happy and having a great time, and they could be over there fighting over politics and yelling at each other and hate each other, but they feel like they have to be there. So things are not always as they appear. So don't compare your real life to somebody else's window dressing. That would be my nugget of wisdom.
I love that.
And then I think we're going to finish up today. Ginger wants to tell us about her book, because she has a really good tie-in for this season with her book.
Yeah, so my book is Holy in the Moment, Simple Ways to Love God and Enjoy Your Life. It was published in 2018 with Abingdon Press. And in the first chapter, I tell the story of a Christmas miracle that happened in my life. It's not a Christmas book, but I went through a very difficult experience that starts out the book. And our family experienced some very difficult things over Christmas, and God literally did a miracle. And so that was the Christmas that God taught me that believing God is not an emotion, that faith is a choice. And that holidays may not always look like you expect for them or want for them to look, but God is always faithful. So anyway, that chapter is available for free on my website at gingerharrington.com on the book page. It's also, the book is available where books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all those good things. So invite everyone to check that out.
Yeah, so you can go and get a sneak peek on the website, and then you'll be so enthralled you'll just have to go out and get the book.
You'll be hooked.
That's what happens to me every time.
You know what? I just go get the whole book up front, because I already know I'm gonna like it. So I just get the whole book and say, all right, we're good.
Well, you know what I do when I'm out and about and I see, like the first book in a series, I'm like, okay, well, I'll pick this one up and I'll be all right. And then I'm completely sucked into it. And then I have to drive 2 hours from home to get the other 2 books, because I have to know what happens next. And so I have done that many times. So now I try to just go ahead. If I find the first one in the bookstore and they don't have the other 2, I just come home and go straight to Amazon and order the other 2, because I know. Especially
you already know
certain authors. Because I already know I'm going to be sucked in, and I got to know.
Yeah.
I have to know. All right. Well, we want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Happy Hanukkah,
Absolutely.
happy holidays, and we want you to celebrate, and we want you to be happy and content and love your life. If you need to talk to anybody, please reach
Mm-hmm.
out to us. Our Facebook page, Meal Support Podcast, is our Facebook page. You can reach out to any one of us through email, through Facebook, any of the social
Absolutely.
medias. That's all in the notes underneath the show notes. Tells you everything. So if you feel like you need somebody to talk to, you're having a tough time or a difficult time, it's a hard time for you during the holidays, just please, please, please reach out. Don't sit and be there by yourself, because we've all been there, and we know how it feels when we've walked that road. And that's why we do this podcast, is so that we can be there to give you a helping hand when you're going through what we've already been through. We want to mentor you and help you and support you. So that's why
Absolutely.
meal support, and we serve those who serve, and you as family members serve as well as the members in the uniform. So we want to serve you and the members. So for me and Gigi and Ginger, we want to sign off and say Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Merry
New Year,
Christmas.
and we will see you the 1st of
Yeah.
January.
Happy New Year. Be
Bye.
careful out there. Stay
Yes.
safe. Take care of yourselves.